Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another Coffee Talk live with Irish, as we talk a little bit about coffee and just today's coffee that we tasted today. If you guys missed today's coffee tasting, go ahead and hit the link in the list of videos. That is going to take you to the live coffee tasting. And then if you don't want to go ahead and watch that one, there will be a shorter version of the video uploaded later today that's going to be much nicer to watch. But today we tried a coffee by the company called Able Roasters. Super cool company, you guys. They are dedicated to supplying jobs to those with disability and autism. So, just their vision and what they do is super cool. It definitely impacts me big time just because of my background and where I come from, and then what I grew up around. It just has a major impact on like how I view this company and just like how admirable I think it is. And I hope that people who didn't go through the things that I went through still find it just as admirable as I do. Like, I hope that the reason why I find it so admirable isn't because of, like, my experiences um, growing up. Because it is an amazing company, and just being able to help um, people with autism and disabilities is just super cool. So during this coffee talk today, I'm going to talk a little bit about why it impacts me a little bit so much, um, and what I went through growing up that makes me feel the way I do about this company. And for those of you guys who missed out the coffee tasting, my favorite way to brew this particular cup of coffee is definitely the French press, but the pour over is really good. Normally, I tend to lean away from the pour over because you get those bright citrusy notes, but because we're getting strawberry bright notes, it's a more mellow citrus flavor, so it's really, really good as a pour over, that is for sure. But I definitely prefer the French press because we get more of those milk chocolate notes. So the reason why, before I get started, if you guys have any questions about Bali Blue or Able Roasters, go ahead and throw that down in the chat. If you guys have a reason why this kind of coffee company inspires you, or if you guys have any other companies that inspire you by helping disabled people and people with autism, go ahead and throw that in the chat. I'd love to explore these different companies that help people out and help people strive by creating the environment that they need to thrive. So it's not about not having the ability to thrive, it's about having the right environment and the right setting to thrive in. So it's kind of like different flowers, there's different types of flowers that'll thrive in all different types of environments, and then there's other types of flowers that grow in very specific environments and that need a very tailored environment to be able to grow. And that's like I actually really like that analogy because in at the end of the day, we're all beautiful flowers. Some of us just need a different environment to grow and adapt in. So super cool. I think I'm gonna have to like make that a T-shirt for my coffee channel. We're all beautiful flowers. We just need a different environment to grow in. Um, Coining that. So thanks again, you guys, for joining in today's coffee talk. And again, if you missed the live stream, there is a link to the video of the live video below, and I will be editing it to make it a more streamlined watch experience. But the reason why this coffee impacts me so much is because I am I have 10 brothers and sisters, and five of us are adopted, and five aren't. So my adopted mom, Sherry, she has three kids of her own, and then she went ahead and started. First, she adopted me and my sister Bethany. We were both a couple weeks old when we were both adopted, and I think I was officially adopted around like a year old. Um, and so when we were children, I mean, obviously there were other reasons as well for why we were adopted and stuff, but we were diagnosed as drug babies, or that we were, our parents had done drugs and we might have uh, defects, or mental disabilities, not able to cope with, like, the other people and other things like that. And so growing up, that's pretty much like what we knew. Like, that's because it's interesting when you watch a movie about an adopted child, or at least back when I grew up, when you watched a movie about someone who was adopted, they would like find out that they're adopted like 17, and they would originally think that they were part of that family, or true blood of that family, like their whole lives, and they would, there would be like this whole like drama thing about like them getting upset because they're not really. But for me and my family, it wasn't like that. Like, I grew up knowing I was adopted. um and we also had, brothers and sisters of different ethnic backgrounds. Like my sister Bethany, she's Filipino, and my other brother and sister that are twins, Smith and Lewis, they're Hawaiian and Japanese. And then my youngest brother, Andrew, he is African American. And so when you have such a diverse family, you kind of know that you're not like, we knew we were all adopted. There was no secret. It wasn't like, no, they weren't trying to make it seem like, that, they weren't our true parents and stuff like that. And we even had the opportunity to meet our real parents when we got older. But there was this thing where, like, because we knew we were adopted and we knew why we were adopted, uh, there was that mental thing going on where, you know, we were literally told, like, hey, like, this is why you were adopted. Um, you might not like be as capable as other people, and when you're told that, just being told that can have a mental effect on your brain and like how you go about things. And like, because I mean, just having that confidence and walking into the room with confidence can be that much difference in your ability to commit and perform the task. But when you're being told that, hey, like, you're a drug baby and you might not be mentally capable, and so when you go into the task with that mindset in your mind, like, hey, like, I might not be able to do this task because of this particular reason, uh, it's going to affect your confidence, and the confidence is going to affect your performance in that task, and then you're hindering yourself. And for me, it really became a big thing when we got invited to the San Diego State University for testing. They wanted to test us to to see our IQ level, and to see how it affected us, um, in our how smart we were in different areas of the brain. And so, like, that's when it was like, it really like impacted me, because like I was just like, okay, so like now it's a real thing, because we're being tested. And so they gave us different tests, math tests and cognitive tests and reaction tests, like how fast we can react to light. So we would press a button as soon as the light turned on, so they'd see how fast our reaction time was. They'd give us puzzles, and we'd have to arrange different shapes to create different shapes, and other things like that. And um, so the one nice thing about it was we got paid for it. So we got paid, I think it was like $10 an hour for our time testing at the San Diego State University. But I don't think what we had like really had intended that would impact us was the fact that, like we're being invited to a place where they're testing children who are disabled by parents who did drugs while impregnated, and we were told that. And so some of us, I mean, I personally was told that I did fairly well in most areas. So they said that um, I wasn't impacted that much by the drug usage. Um, but at the same time, when you have that in your mind that like you might be impaired because of particular reasons, it just those thoughts alone can impair you from doing the things that you do. And then so and then because of our our adoption and the reasons why we were adopted, most of us were homeschooled growing up. And so my what I would say my main disability growing up was the fact that I had the lack of a social ability. So we were allowed to go into public school and high school, so I had pretty much spent most of my life knowing just my brothers and sisters as friends, and then the people that I went to church with as well. So the circle of people I knew and met were very limited, and I didn't get to meet a lot of new people. So my social strengths were very weak growing up, and I'm pretty sure I could say the same for some of my other brothers and sisters as well, going into high school. And I actually joined football in high school to try and boost my social ability, so that I can help talk to people a little bit more. But it didn't really help out that much. I mean, I did meet a lot of people, but I still had this thing where I would like walk around with my head down, and I even had a friend on the football team who even helped me with some of those things. Where like he told me how to like don't walk around with your head down. Like he made me aware of the things that I was doing, because sometimes when we do the things that we do, we close ourselves off from other people. We don't know we're doing it. We just get in that state of comfortability. And for me, uh, I was comfortable, staying in my own little bubble and not really getting to know the people around me. And so my first step in that journey of opening up was my friend Adrian Zing. He literally told me like, "Hey, walk around with your head up. Like, uh, you're more approachable that way. Like people like, you when you walk around with your head down and slouch down, you look depressed and stuff like that. So, just walk with your head up." And so like, being able to tell someone that is very important. Um, and so if you have a friend that does that, I encourage you to, give them that advice, because it may seem mean at the time, if you're not comfortable saying it, but I am very thankful that he said it, because it helped me as a person to be like, hey, you know what? I do walk with my head down, and I do close myself off from the people around me as I walk like from class to class. So like, maybe I can walk with my head up and make eye contact and other things like that. And so now that we know that like uh I have this like hardship with communication and being sociable with others, um uh, shortly after I graduated high school, I began my journey through Starbucks and got my job working in Palm Desert. And it was when I began my Coffee Master program is when I really started to develop my social skills. And so that's why this company, Able Coffee, really impacts me, is because I really developed my social skills and developed the way I talk to people around coffee. So the way that happened was when I was new to the company, we had this program called the Coffee Master program, where you can take a 3-month course where you learn all about coffee. You learn about all about the culture and the farmers and the history of coffee. You learn a little bit of the timeline from the first documented discovery up until now. And when as I when I first got into the program, for me, it was all about getting that black apron. I thought it looked cool. It was the only way to get the black apron. It's a coffee master on it. You know, you're just like the best barista in the store, blah blah blah. But it's not about that anymore. What it as I started my training and I went through the program, uh, I started to learn all these different stories and these cultures and how coffee impacts the environment and how coffee impacts the economy, especially the economy of different people around the world, with Indonesia, Hawaii, and how it rebuilt the economy in Hawaii after World War II. Just the how coffee has impacted the different environments around the world, and how it's creating a sustainability for farmers, allowing them to grow crops. That impacted me so much that it no longer became about the Black Apron, and now was more about learning about coffee. And then as I started to learn about coffee and I started to learn a little bit more extra things, started delving into like the culture of the different farmers and what they do and how they do it, I started to share these stories with my coworkers. And so as I started to share these stories with my coworkers, I started to share that passion with everyone else. And one day out of nowhere, we up and decided to do like, hey, like, why don't we do these coffee tastings with the customers, and we will share these stories with the customers as we do a coffee tasting. And I thought that was a great idea. So we started doing these coffee tastings, and I'll tell you, the first couple of coffee tastings that I did weren't easy at all, because with a small group of people in front of me, talking about uh, just talking in general, because I'm comfortable talking about coffee, but having that group in front of me for the first time made me very nervous. And so there was a lot of uhs and a lot of thinking and a lot of forgetting about what I was talking about. But it was very important to go through that. Like, you have to really jump that first hurdle of being nervous and getting past that feeling of anxiety, because once you get past that feeling of anxiety, or you ride the anxiety train a little bit and you get through it, the next time you do it, it gets a little easier. Doesn't mean it's completely easy the next time. It does get a little easier, because my second coffee tasting was almost just as anxious as the first one, because I still have another group of people in front of me, different group. I'm doing a different coffee, all different facts, so I've got to get everything right. And so there's that nervousness that comes in. But as I'm doing my coffee tastings week after week after week, and I'm 7 weeks into my coffee tastings, I'm becoming more comfortable with a social setting. I'm more comfortable talking to people. And then in between these coffee tastings, I'm now sharing these stories personally with customers and people on a one-to-one face setting as I brew their coffees. And so not only am I getting the practice with the big group setting, but I'm getting that practice with that one-on-one knowledge setting with a single person. And so I'm building my speaking skills through talking about coffee. And one day, the corporates found out about me doing my coffee tastings, and they invited me to the corporate office in Corona, California. And so I got to go to the district office in Corona, California, and I got to do a coffee tasting for some of the higher ups there. And that was like my first coffee tasting all over again. Like, I'm meeting these people that are so high up in the company that they make a ridiculous amount of money. They do some really cool things. They're roasters, they're tasters, all kinds of things. They business planners, all kind like different types of trophies that they had in their cubicles in this office were amazing. And then they even had their own little bar set up with with uh, the barista machine and all the syrups and stuff. So any of them could have go into the kitchen and make their own latte like they were at a regular Starbucks. And every single one of them used to be a barista. All of them have their aprons hanging up on their cubicle as well. So that was super cool to be able to meet them. But the anxiety and nervousness of it all was nerve wracking. Like I was so nervous. By the time I was done with my coffee tasting, the my back was drenched in sweat. But it was super cool because I got to taste one of my favorite coffees, which was Shade Grown Mexico, with them, and that was with notes of caramel and milk chocolate. And I made homemade cheesecake for them. So I brought in homemade cheesecake with one of my favorite coffees, and I got to share that with them. And I told them a little bit about what makes it my favorite coffee, and then the different flavor notes that I like about it. And then after I was done, it felt amazing. Like it was super scary before, during, all of that coffee tasting, but then after I was done, it was amazing. And then when I went to my next coffee tasting with the customers, that coffee tasting was so easy because I went through that such strenuous coffee tasting with these people that I had considered like, these, like, oh my gosh, like these people, like, they make so much money, blah blah blah, I have to really impress them. And then after I'm done, I was just like, wow, that was like super easy. It was like doing a coffee tasting for anyone else. Like they aren't all that more special than everyone else. Everyone else is just as special. This coffee tasting is just as much for them as it is for you guys. And that's what that did for me, was open it up, and it's just like, hey, like there's no reason to be more nervous in front of this particular group than you are in front of this other particular group. And it really lowered down that anxiety level, and it's almost to a point where it's non-existent. And because of these coffee tastings, I now have a much better ability to approach someone, say hi, introduce myself, talk to them a little bit about my passion and what I do, and maybe even learn a little bit about them. And so that is how coffee has helped me overcome my hurdle of being someone who is scared to approach people and be sociable, uh, and talk. And so I have overcome that hurdle through coffee and coffee tastings and just knowledge of coffee. And so I use coffee as my catalyst of overcoming my hurdle. And you guys can use anything as your catalyst of overcoming your hurdle. It's just finding out how. So if you guys have a passion for something, I would encourage you to share your passion with other people, like I'm sharing my passion with you guys about coffee. Because of me sharing my passion with coffee, it's helping me overcome my hurdle and being able to talk to people and introduce myself and do those types of things, and really get out there. And so if you guys have any kinds of hurdles that you guys need to bound over, I encourage you guys to just strive for it. Go through those anxious moments, because those anxious moments do get easier. The thing is you do have to experience those anxious moments to make them easier, because they only get easier as you experience them. So you have to experience those moments to make it easier. So, uh, thank you guys so much for joining me today for today's coffee talk. I hope you guys enjoyed a little bit about what you learned about me and about my past and my history, and a little bit about my family and what I had to go through growing up and how I came over those obstacles. And now you guys know why Able Roasters really impacts me as a person, because I came over my boundaries because of coffee, and it's really cool to see a company help others do the same thing in a different way, but through coffee as well. So, thanks again, everyone, for joining. I really appreciate you guys joining me. And then, if you guys missed this morning's coffee tasting, I will have a uploaded version of it posted later today so that you guys can all watch it and we can really um, pay tribute to the Able Roasters company. And if you guys haven't, go and check out their website, the Able Roasters, and you can buy coffee on the website, or if you just want to donate, you can donate to the Able Roasters as well and help them create more jobs for those with autism and disabilities. Super awesome. Thanks again for joining, you guys. Have a great day, and I will see you this Friday.